What's up, guys? Welcome to this live show. I've decided to do some news that the Fireside bunch don't want to do. Blame Brian. So stuff that might not be suitable for Fireside chats. So how this is going to work tonight is there's only 4 main stories I want to cover. We're going to read the bit I've prepped for each story, and then I'll go to the comments and we'll talk about the actual issue, stuff like that, per each one. So try and do 15 minutes for each, and we'll see how we get on, depending on how active you guys are on the chat, of course. So in the chat at the moment, we have Scottish Prepper. He's willing to chat in the box, but not come on the screen. Scottish Prepper 73. John sees in. Says Starmer should get bent. There we go. Simple as that. Polonium's in, says evening. The Hungry Tourist says hi. Mark says yo, yo, yo. Hawkins says late. You're late or I'm late. We all got here exactly when we were supposed to. I'm dealing with a unstable connection that my alert keeps telling me on screen, so bear with me. Castle Oasis Chess says hello. Polonium is there, already mentioned. He's got thumbs up there. Dawn Curran. Mel Sibley's there. Paul Thomas says evening all. And Sigma's in the house. Come to give you a like. Sigma Prepper has inspired me to do a bit of video intro to each bit. Terribly edited. It took me the whole of 40 minutes to do 4 videos. So hopefully Drew will find time at some point to do me some proper cutscenes, because his are awesome. But go and check his channel out after this. Scottish representative, I don't want to get banned. I don't want to get banned, but if they feel the need to, that's fine. Thing is, you only get banned if they're looking at it, and if you don't monetize it, then they're not looking at it. So it should be pretty safe. But Scottish Prepper at the moment is our only moderator, so play nice. Sandy's in over from the Wolf Pack at Sigma's crew. Yeah, so right, let's get on and do the first story. So we'll go to the first one, and then after I've read out my little bit, we'll go back to the chat and see what you guys think of it. So the first story is So yes, we are in the midst of a cyber war, and it's in full swing at the moment. Not only has the Fireside lot, like Scottish Prepper, brought some of this to my attention, but my own servers were subject to a brute force DDoS attack earlier this week while I was away on a mini break with my family. Luckily, from the warm bubbles of my hot tub, I managed to work with a few other people and get them closed out. And anyone that's booked on the Preppers Meet, don't worry, no data was compromised. They didn't actually get in. The 26th of November, a UK hospital is declaring a major incident, cancelling all outpatient appointments due to cyber security reasons. And this was the Wirral University Teaching Hospital, which is part of the NHS Trust, located in the Northwest, not far from me. And the so-called incident affects the whole trust, which oversees the Wirral's Women and Children's Hospital, Clatterbridge Hospital, and Arrow Park Hospital. Another one just come up not so long ago was Morrison's. It was only about a few days ago, I think. Morrison's was attacked, affecting their distribution process, meaning that any fresh food sections in Morrison's stores were running empty shelves due to a cyber attack on their distribution network. Local authorities have also been victims of cyber attacks. Middlesbrough Council was one of them. The website was affected by a distributed denial of service, or a DDoS attack, as we mentioned before, on Wednesday last week, and the attack again on Sunday morning. So, I mean, there's loads of these individual incidents. I could have sat here and read 20 of them out. But basically, cyber attacks have cost UK businesses £44 billion in the last 5 years. 44 billion. Data breaches and cyber attacks in November 2023, so just this month, there's been 519,111,354 records breached in IT governance. Is that unstable connection? Let me know if you can hear me okay, guys, please. 470 publicly disclosed security incidents and 519 million records known to be Scottish Prep is £10 for the bail fund. Guys, it's on my screen. I keep cutting out towards the end of that and loading. Please let me know in the comments if you're still seeing me okay or if it's cutting out for you guys as well. Thank you for the donation, Scottish Prepper. Much appreciated. I'm under cyber attack. This is the problem I'm having. I would not be surprised. It seemed to have stabilized out now at the moment. But that was generally the cyber attack one. 44 billion costing the UK, and just this month alone has ramped up massively. So let me know what you guys think of that. Is this all to do with the current tensions with other countries, or is it just the way of the world these days? Number of incidents they're saying on the IT governance is particularly high this month, partly because they've improved the way they find and report their incidents, but also partly because they've seen several big supply chain attacks this month alone. Am I still cutting out now? Oh God. Kia the Fear is hacking you. Somebody give me a 5x5 now. Let me know if it's okay. I've lost my little unstable logo, so we'll hold out. Let me know in the chat if we're stable, and get your comments in and questions during this show as well. Hello, Snapdragon. Okay for me, Mike says. Mark, 5x5 by Sandy. Thank you. Much appreciated. Cheers, guys. Ilsti, I'm okay. Right. So Scottish Prepper says cyber attacks is just a modern facet of combat on a different plane. Yeah, do you think it's coming from the same place though? That's the question. Or is it just the way of the world and people after money? As it is. Anyway, Sigma Prepper says it usually means there's new cyber legislation ready to be passed, internet access, etc., in preparation for things escalating with Russia. Maybe it's lots of really annoyed Australian teenagers, because if you're under 16 in Australia, you've just been banned from all social media. So maybe it's a bunch of 15-year-old hackers trying to take down the entire internet because they can't have it. Alan Armitage Astley says, question, would you agree that with these statements, treat cyber attacks just like any attack and be ready with serious political, economic and military response? Whoa. I think any sort of response has to be equal. I think if we're getting cyber attacked, we should be doing the same in return. But yeah, it's difficult to say how far you can escalate that into a military response. But economic sanctions, definitely. It's just, yeah, it is all part of warfare, right? At the end of the day. So it's where do you draw that line when it comes from cyber attacks? Because if you are affecting the NHS, you are affecting lives, essentially. So it's still a threat to life. Where we live, if you don't comply, then you lock your bank account. You must be in the UK. Scottish Prepper doesn't want to come on this live show because he's worried about saying, saying stuff that might get him banned, and then he comes out with comments like that. So yeah, now we understand. Now we understand. Yeah, well, that's the cyber attack. I'll come back if there's any further questions on that one. Let's do the next one. Yes, that's right. Putin has been threatening us, waving his saber around again. Maybe just saber rattling, we hope. But he's threatened the UK with ballistic missiles as Ukraine war escalates. The source for this initial bit is from The Independent. Russian President Vladimir Putin threatened to strike the UK with a new ballistic missile after using the weapon to hit a target in Ukraine. Putin quoted saying, "We consider ourselves entitled to use weapons against military facilities of those countries that allow their weapons to be used against our facilities." Downing Street condemned Mr. Putin for further escalating the conflict by using ballistic missile with a range of several thousand kilometers against the city of Dnipro, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Mr. Putin suggested the missile could be used to hit Kiev's allies who have given Ukraine permission to use the Western supplies. One of the newest Russian medium-range missiles was tested in combat conditions, and in this case, the ballistic missile was a non-nuclear hypersonic warhead. So, Mr. Putin threatening the UK. Now, Storm Shadows are manufactured in unstable connection again. Storm Shadows manufactured in Stevenage. We can defend against missiles. Apparently, according to the source, with Russian cruise missiles from land, sea, and air in just 90 minutes, traveling at 600 miles an hour. General system could not stop Russian missiles from the offensive. The senior commander said the UK does not have air missile defense that Ukraine has. For now, we've not needed it. The other source for this was also a report that was written for the House of Lords, basically saying the UK's missile defense capabilities are in urgent need of improvement, according to a report. The report was actually titled Ukraine, a Wake-Up Call. So you can go and find that report and you can read that yourself, but basically saying that we're pretty defenseless against this. And if Russia decided to do it, then we would be relying on America and our allies more than ourselves to defend against them. So I don't know how much of that you caught with my super stable connection, but let me know what you think. Let's have a look at the chat. Denmark had their train stopped on the tracks today, as well as their phone service go down, including emergency calls after stopping Chinese flagged ship. Interesting. Very interesting. NHS here. Then when Microsoft went wonky, it was a nightmare. Microsoft's always been wonky. Trump is kicking 15k trans out the military. End of woke rainbow crap. Well, needs must. Wouldn't kick them out of the military though. I'm sure they could be used for something in the military. Timu Wi-Fi. I've got like the fastest connection you can possibly get at a residential home, but the cable that usually connects the PC to the router is dead. So I'm using a Wi-Fi dongle, and that is why my connection's unstable. I do apologize. 2T must be trying to take you down. Yep, there we go. Don't watch South African news. They claim that the US has given the Ukraine nukes. I mean, I pray to God that's not right, because they'd use them. So basically, we're just wide open to attack. We'll rely heavily and solely on the nuclear deterrent, but it's not a nuclear deterrent if you get attacked from, like, he had the hypersonic missile. Imagine it hit that factory in Stevenage that produces the storm shadows. Is a nuclear response justified? Or would we just have to sit back and go, okay, well, we'll send more storm shadows over there? It's difficult. It's a weird one for me. I don't think he'd do it. I really don't think he'd do it. It's just he's just threatening and saber rattling again. How will we know there's a nuke on the way here? I think the first thing you'll hear about it is social media. Genuinely, I think you'll hear it on X and Twitter before you hear it on the mainstream news. They won't want to panic people. They won't give you an emergency alert to get undercover. It'll just be a case of, oh crap, it's happening. We might get that phone alert a few minutes before so they can say they did something, but I don't think we'd get enough warning time to do anything about it. Gotta hope you're not in a strike zone, or you are somewhere where you can get below ground quickly. I like this one. Mark says, keep yourself safe online, guys. Remember, do not use beef stew as a computer password. It's not strong enough. It's not strong enough. I love it. That's my humor. Having nukes doesn't matter when your country is tiny compared to the vast enemy. True. True. We could be blanketed. Polonium. I'm in Stevenage. Oh dear, Polonium. Well, that is basically, that's who he's directly threatened. The producers of the weapons that have been used against him. Why do they announce that we're open to attack? Because we're idiots. Short answer for that one, hungry tourist. I don't know there. UK's air defence is also ship-based with Sea Viper and Sea Scepter used RAF use and ASRAM air defence. But how centralised is that? How much space does that cover, John? Yes, America has systems based in the UK to detect any missiles. However, whether us as general public would know about it is a complete other story. I have 2 Navy British ships sitting outside my harbour. Your harbour. Send us a photo, Sambo. UKOpenPrepper@gmail.com. I'd love to see. Old. Come on. Play nice. Frozen mic. I know. Hopefully it's going again now. Why would you want to risk nuclear war in such a close theatre of neighbours? Is Ukraine worth this risk with nothing to gain? I hope the USA tries for peace and agreeable treaty. We hope so. I hope so too. It's just whether the current regimes will escalate before Trump is in to do that. Okay, folks, while Mike recovers his connection, a turnip as a prize for the best joke. Wow, there we go. Cheers. Yeah, we're going again. We'll see how long it lasts. I do apologize for this, guys. I've no idea. Nobody else is in the house. No internet's on anywhere else. It's just deciding to kick on and off. So maybe I'm under attack again and I don't realize. Right. That's about the last comments on that one. So let's look to get a big strike off YouTube and possibly the channel banned by talking about another subject. Yes, we have to talk about immigration. This is always a tentative subject with all the stuff going on at the moment. But Keir Starmer just had an address where he seemed to turn towards the more right side of the immigration argument than the left. A news report shortly after even said, oh, it sounded like some stuff that Farage would say. I don't think it was that far, but it was interesting that he even made that comparison. So in his speech, he had to mention, of course, the £22 million black hole, because no matter what he does, you could say, what did you have for breakfast? He would mention the £22 billion black hole. It's just ingrained into everything he says now. And of course, he painted it all as the Conservatives' fault. They didn't help the situation, fully admit that. They said they would do this, said they'd do that, came up with stupid schemes that were never going to work. And it's just got worse and worse. But he now claims he's the man to turn this round. Careful, Keir. You can get arrested for saying things like that. Just be warned. He said the government has redeployed 1,000 Home Office staff to process asylum claims, and said his government has returned 9,600 asylum seekers since July, which sounds like a good number. But let's look at the numbers. The Home Office data that's come out has also revealed there is 106,181 asylum claimants that are in accommodation at the end of September. That's increased by 9,500 from May. So it's increased by the number he's apparently sent home. And that's people in accommodations, the hotels, things like that. So no wonder it's taking over like people's local hotels, and you've seen clips of it all over the place. I'm not going to show any video clips, I'm already skirting that fine line of no longer having a YouTube account by even talking about this. Labour promised to close asylum hotels in their manifesto, but Border Security Minister Dame Angela Eagle last week said that more asylum hotels have opened since the party came into power. Cost-wise, the Home Office spent £5.38 billion on asylum over the past year. 1 year. Nearly £5.5 billion. It's just insane. New data has found that the number of silent claimants living in hotels has increased since they came into power in July, like we just said. The figures released on Thursday showed spending rose by 1.43 billion in 23-24, which gets us to that 5.38, which is 36% higher than 2022. It's more than 4 times the equivalent figure for 2020. and nearly 12 times the total a decade ago. So in 2013, this cost was 450 million. That's more than inflation right there. Since Labour came into power, 19,988 people have crossed the channel on small boats. At the time I wrote this on Notepad, we could have had more over. Don't quote the exact number, but that's the number I had. And it's not just people in hotels, UK prisons. There's more savings to be made there. Wait. The average cost of a prison place in 23. No idea what's happening with this connection. The average cost for a prison place in 22-23 was £51,724 per prisoner per year. So times that number of foreign nationals and people with no nationality, that's £569 million per year we're spending on them prisoners. So altogether, £6 billion could be saved, which is interesting when the winter fuel allowance was set to cost us $2 billion. So you could have paid for 3 times the winter fuel allowance with the money that we're spending on these hotels, the immigration, the asylum seekers. It's just absolutely insane. And we won't mention that every time we see a video, it's all young fighting age males. That's a whole other theory, a whole other conspiracy. But it's getting hard to ignore. It's genuinely getting hard to ignore. And the fact that BBC are now saying something and mainstream media are now saying things is like, it must have got really bad if the biased broadcast company cannot sweep it under the rug anymore. So let's see what you guys think of that in the chat. If anybody's left after my unstable connection. John's still on the previous. Poland just got Aegis static air defense like the ones American ships. It would be integrated with any other NATO systems. The whole of Europe is covered. That's good to know. Hope that's right. Sigma Prepper, right? Got to rock and roll. Great job with the new titles, my man. I'll catch you in the replay. Thanks. Cheers, Sigma Prepper. Appreciate you being here. Castle Oasis Chess. We have so many immigrants. We have no housing or jobs for Canadians. You can hire immigrants to work for less and longer hours while Canadians have a hard time getting decent wages to survive. It's a global issue. It's a global issue. Paul Thomas, Starmer more of a dictator than Stalin. I'll tell you what I will mention as well. It's not one of the news stories, but the petition that is up to like 3 million now, I think it's close to that, to call for a election. The government are trying to stop that getting out of control, like getting beyond. They don't want to see that go past the same number of votes that Labour got. So if it went past 9-10 million, then it's suddenly the more popular thing. How have they stopped that? By debating it early. So that was supposed to run till May. So you should have had till May to sign that petition. Now they're going to discuss it in Parliament on the 5th of January. It's great that they're going to discuss it, but that's just a way of stopping any more coming in. That petition will be closed off at that point and nobody else will be able to sign. And they can turn around then and say, oh, well, there was more signatures for reversing Brexit. There was more signatures for a referendum, etc. So, clever tactic by the government to say, oh, we're going to talk about it. So people feel like they've won, but it's a way of silencing us and making sure that wasn't more popular than anything else. So if you've not signed it, go sign it. If you've not shared it, go share it. Get as many people to sign it before the 5th that you can. Anyway, back to you'll go missing like Funky. This is it. Yeah. The connection is the start of it. Next will be a knock at the door. I'll go out fighting. That's all I can tell you. I'll go out swinging. I love ignorance. Deliveroo guys here are great. Who else would cycle on the hard shoulder going the wrong way down the motorway just to bring me a panini sandwich? I hope you tipped him, John. I hope you gave him a tip. Oh, jeez. That's crazy figures. We can't afford that. It is crazy figures. Nearly £6 billion being spent on people that are not British nationals. This is nothing to do with race, where you're from, why you're seeking asylum, what your issue is, what you bring to the country, etc. This is nothing to do with any of that. It's to do with spending £6 billion on other people. We're all living in poverty. Buffering again. This is my life sample. Is it buffering for everyone or just me? I hope we're past the buffering stage. I've not got the little signal on. I'm back. What subject is the BBC biased on? Good question, Alan. Whatever the government asks them to be biased on. Yeah? Whatever's the regime, the powers that be say they need to say, or they can't say, or they're censored from saying. It was clear, they had a clear bias against the right side of politics. And I don't mean right as in correcting. I'm not sure what's happening, guys. Genuinely not sure what's going to happen. If it doesn't stabilize, we're not going to get through the last one because it's just frustrating for you and for me. I don't know what's going on. I can only apologize. It's definitely something interrupting it because the connection to my computer, the connection to my phone is full strength. It's just the broadcast that's having connection problems. 5x5 now. Yeah, cheers, guys. I have no idea what's going on. It's very odd that I would start talking about subjects like this, and this is when it happens, because anyone who's been in my live streams before, I'm hosting 4 people. We don't have connection issues, yet you talk about a subject like this, and this happens. You know, I'd hate to throw my tinfoil hat on, but that's a hella coincidence. Anyway, speaking of the right, let's do the last one. Last little story. Now's your time to get any questions in. Stick them in the chat related to any of these stories or anything to do with prepping even. Let's go crazy and even talk about prepping, you know, just for the sake of it. Anything you want to ask, pop it in the chat now, and we'll go through our last little story and hopefully maintain a connection to it. Yes, Ben Habib has quit Reform Party. Now, it comes as a bit of a shock because he was quite a name at the top of the Reform Party. So I had to look into this and see why this had happened. Habib revealed the final straw that prompted his departure from the party, which won 5 seats at the general election this year, was the major issue was some ideological differences with the party, but essentially the party not democratizing as they promised they would, is what he said. Okay. Maybe that's him. He has leadership desires on the party, but at this stage, they've not democratized where they have, leadership votes and things like that. So he's left for that reason. Now, he did also mention, made some silly comment like, if they do democratize, I'll come back and we'll all have a big hug and laugh and forget about it. So I think it's just one of these things. When they first started, they were a private company, not an official party. That's changed. Eventually, they will democratize and it'll be a votes for leaderships and things like that. So I think it will happen. He's just decided he's spat his dummy out because it's not happened soon enough. It comes as the party gets its 100,000th member, which was revealed to be ex-Tory MP Dame Andrea Jenkins. And on top of that, now there's rumours up to 8 Tory MPs that could move over following her move over to the party. And the Reform UK leader, Nigel Farage, announced that Jenkins will also stand as the party's candidate in the Greater Lincolnshire mayoral election next May. So, there you go. Do we have any comments or questions then before we go? Or just comedy observations at my connection speed? Keep going. We don't take any notice of you anyway. All right. I'm just here to facilitate the chat room that Miss Worm moderates. I'll just sit here. Cheers. Anytime you say something they won't like, you lose your internet. It's weird, isn't it? Strange. But it's not even the internet. I've got a phone right next to me here on the Wi-Fi with full signal. I've got my actual connection to the PC for the Wi-Fi, full signal. It's just the streaming software. Odd. YouTube is playing up here and the US. It's not even YouTube. It's StreamYard that I use to stream to YouTube, but it's StreamYard that's saying it's got the connection. Did you ever find out what happened to Funky? No, I didn't. And Wessex Blades, who's a really good friend of him, also put a video up recently, which you can, if you search for it, you'll find that. And he basically says that he's tried to ring him and everything and can't get through. So we don't know. We don't know. Hopefully he's okay. Mark, behave yourself. Not going to highlight that comment. I think he's a bit miffed at being replaced. It's not being replaced, honestly. It's not being replaced. We're not going that far. If I start telling you we can lock prisoners up in storage units and that, World War III is an army of bloody people from a hotel coming to get us all, then you can say it's not true. Barrage is a better shit. It happened again. We'll give it a minute. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll wait for the connection to. We back? The Scottish prepper donated a tenner. I'll have to put it towards a new cable. Let's see. The right adder says, "Hi everyone. I agree with Ben. You can't have a limited company governing a country. Yes, but I'm pretty sure they're not a limited company anymore. I'm pretty sure they did that, already made that transition over into a proper party. It started as a limited company, but anyway. Can you briefly explain the changes to inheritance tax for farmers to me, please? Okay. Well, there's a whole video where I've interviewed a farmer on the channel. So by all means, go and check that out. But I'll give you the short version. So the inheritance tax has a cap on for £1 million. Yes, it can be 2 million if there's two people that have the farm. So there's ways and means. I'm sure there'll be solicitors that can find ways around different things, but it basically means anything over 2 million, the value, then gets the inheritance tax on it. Okay. A farm could be valued at £20 million, right? Because of the equipment, the land, and the stuff needed on it. They don't have £20 million sat in the bank. Often, these large farms are paying the people on the farms a wage, and the actual main farmer is getting less than minimum wage for the hours he works. They are not cash rich, they are asset rich. So basically, pass that farm down now to my son. Out of that £10 million farm, let's say, for example, I get £1 million off. My spouse gets £1 million off. So that's £8 million. He's now got to find the tax on £8 million to inherit that farm. So he'd have to sell off assets, he'd have to sell off land just to pay to keep the farm going. And it's a way of the government destroying farmers and returning the land to the social state. There you go. That's my brief. Hope that helps. But go and check out my interview with a dairy farmer who's based in Yorkshire, which is on the channel, which is actually a really cool video and a better insight when it comes straight from the horse's mouth, or the cow's mouth, as it were. We could play charades while we're waiting. Didn't Frage do that? He did it a while ago. I think it was more than a few weeks ago, but he did it a while ago. It's not a viable business, and what they produce off farmland and what they produce off cows and dairy and even meat, they can't dictate the price. It must be one of the only industries where you make something, but the government then decides how much you sell it for. It's not a viable business. If everyone paid a fair price for the products, you wouldn't have cheap food in the supermarkets, but it would be a viable business after that. So it's chicken and egg. It's difficult one, really is. They need farmland to build more barbershops. They need farmland to get 1 million solar panels on to try and get us to net zero. Watch my connection go, because I said some keywords. Yeah, so they need the farmland for alternative power, because at the moment, we ain't got enough. We're shutting down power stations faster than we can compensate for it. It's insane. That's a whole other story anyway. There you go. Paul Thomas. It's so they can land grab. But I do appreciate your questions, Alan Armitage. It's really good. Yes, there you go. Don't confuse value with profit. I mean, the best thing is, he's might not be everyone's favorite cup of tea, but Clarkson did Clarkson's Farm. And if you've not watched it, go and watch it. Give him a chance. He's funny. I like the guy. But in the last series, they showed, like, literally, this cost this. This is what this costs. This is what this costs. This is what this costs. This is what's happened here. This is what's happened here. And it showed the profit at the end of it. And you think of how much stuff they had to do and how much work they had to put in and the profit. It's definitely a labor of love, farming. It's got to be a labor of love, because I don't know what else you're in it for otherwise. It's got to be love of it. So supermarkets have strangled prices. There you go. You will own nothing. There you go. This is it. This is it. So right. Well, if there's no more questions, I think that's it. We only had the 4 stories to go through. I appreciate all the questions, all the feedback within it. I'm sorry about the connection thing. I will get it sorted. I don't know how yet, but I'll find a way. Big shout out to Scottish Prepper 73. He put a £10 donation in at the start of the stream, which was absolutely awesome. I'm sure Miss Worm is about to post his YouTube channel, so go and check him out. Make sure you subscribe to him as well. And Miss Worm's channel. Go and check her out. She's got a cool channel, which is not prepping, but it's worth a look. Go and check it out. It's not. Only ticky. Anything. Thing one do. Apparently, if I say the R word, that's when it goes. Good job. It's past the watershed. I don't know what swear words you can hear and what's not. Oh, there you go. My 12 Frights of Christmas series starts on the 1st. Go and check out Miss Worm's channel. She'll post that next. Right. Can you hear me? Are we good? I've still got low connection. Let me just get through the sign off, YouTube, please. I'm going to stop talking about all the things you don't like. Let me sign off without cutting me off, and then we can go. 5x5 against, says Polonium. Jeez. Right, guys, I'm going to go before they kick me off, but clearly there's something really dodgy going on with this whole connection thing. But thank you to you guys in the chat for joining in. Thank you for Miss Worm for moderating, for the donations and everything like that. It all is really appreciated, and maybe it can go towards getting a connection that they can't interrupt as much. But thanks for watching, guys. Say your goodbyes in the comments, feel free, and I'll flip them up during the credits at the end as usual. Stay safe, stay prepared, stay vigilant, and keep your eye on the news. Goodbye. Thank you.